Well, guys, it's that time of the year. It's that time of the year where all dysfunctional families come together. Well, depending on what type of dysfunctional family we're talking about. But, generally speaking, dysfunctional families will come together and they will try to force the narrative of normality and love and, togetherness once a year. And if you're the family scapegoat and you have been the target of a dysregulated parent who has a narcissistic personality style, and as you watched the enablers dance to their tune, and as you watched nobody doing anything about the dysfunction, rather what you watch is just people obeying, the narcissistic individual and normalizing psychological abuse, normalizing physical abuse, normalizing, the addictions, all the addictions that you see in that household, whether it's to victimhood or alcohol or drugs or sex or gambling, and especially normalizing having the children of those families carry the weight, the responsibility of a dysregulated parent's dysfunction on their shoulders. Children are responsible for the mood of a dysfunctional person. They're made to feel responsible for the tantrums of a dysregulated person. And that's us, the scapegoats, That's how we grew up. And so this is a time of the year that can be really triggering. I mean, whether you've gone no contact or whether you're low contact or whether you still have to sit through those dinners, the struggle is real because, first of all, love is not something that's supposed to be celebrated once a year. Like, it's not normal, for those people to expect that as you have suffered, through what the dysfunction did to you within, as you, developed, CPTSD, anxiety disorder, panic disorder, your immune system, as you've accumulated these deep triggers that now prevent you from having healthy relationships with other people, that make socializing awkward, the isolation, all these things that you carry within you that are invisible. And now all of a sudden, at this time of year, you're supposed to somehow smile through all of that, or and sit through people talking about the holidays being all around family and love and togetherness. It's like, what are you talking about? Love is not something that's celebrated once a year. Love is about, it's all year round. I gotta tell you guys from personal experience, being a family scapegoat, right now, where I'm at today, I created a healthy family for myself, and we got family dinners almost every night. Not every night, because sometimes we watch TV or whatever, but almost every night we gather around the table and we laugh, we talk about issues, we cry, we talk about our problems, we talk about, I asked my kids, what's happening in your life, tell me, what do you, it's all year that you do this. It's every day that you show up for your kids that you do this. It's every day that you show up as a family and that you work together, and include every single family member in the conversation. Is this making you uncomfortable? What can we do as a family? It's acknowledging the experience of every single person in that household and understanding them. And this goes both ways, and this is also how a healthy family unit will function. I'm not saying that it's perfect, because it's not, of course. You know, we all have emotions, right? So we all experience anger, and we can all be frustrated every once in a while when things don't go our way and such. But you know, a healthy family will talk about these things, and we'll sit down, and it certainly doesn't end in silent treatments and toxic guilt, you know. And it certainly doesn't revolve around enabling somebody's addictions, such as victimhood, right? Again, I talk about that a lot because a lot of scapegoats, you know, do suffer from toxic guilt and the shame because of the inability to fix the family dysfunction. And it's just not possible for you to do it, because this is something that each and every person has to do, or each and every person has to do the work for themselves. It's not it's not in your power to fix those things. It's just not. Part of the reason why we ruminate so much after dealing with these, you know, especially after the toxic interactions, well, it's because of our inability to say no when we should say no. And saying no is allowing healthy anger to do what it's supposed to do. Because when you don't say no to things that make you uncomfortable, when you don't say no to things that hurt you, to things that are toxic for you, and you know, when instead of listening to that inner voice that says, this is not good for me, this is hurting me, and instead of allowing that healthy anger, which is doing what it's supposed to do, hey, I'm not okay with this, no is no, no is no. You cannot continue to look to me for all the issues within the family without like looking at yourself and your role, the role that you played in keeping the dysfunction going. No, I will not continue having a relationship with a person who hurts me. Whether you choose, what you choose to do with this information is your own choice. I know what's not good for me. No, that is a healthy expression of anger. And when we continue to suppress our healthy emotions, you know, when we suppress ourselves, when we continuously people please, and we don't allow ourselves to feel what we're supposed to feel, you know, this people pleasing, right? Continuously suppressing yourself to try and fix the dysfunctions and try and make other people happy. You know, this people pleasing, it will kill you. From the inside, it will kill you. And then it will manifest physically through all sorts of physical ailments, you know? Because the body and the mind are connected, right? You keep suppressing your anger. You keep suppressing your anger. It's going to come out through sickness, physically. And why am I talking about this in this video? Well, because holiday season, you know? You are going to start hearing the messages now that it's a time for giving, and a time for selflessness, and a time for family togetherness, and a time for, you know, love and happiness and joy, right? But if people pleasing has already been killing you slowly all year, I mean, that will not change during the holiday season. It's going to continue. You are going to continue down that path of, you know, eventually directing that anger towards yourself because you didn't say no when you felt you should have. And you continuously, you know, try to please other people at your own expense in the hopes that that will give you a family and that will give you the normality that you seek. But unfortunately, this is not in your power. And there are things that you can do, though. And so I want to talk about that a little bit with you, you know. The most important thing right now that you can do for this holiday season is to have self-compassion. And I know that sounds cliche, and probably you've heard that a million times. But if you really like reflect on this for a minute, if you really think about it, if you really reflect on self-compassion, a lack of self-compassion is a sign of trauma. You know? Completely neglecting yourself, and to the point that you hurt yourself and that you do things for other people that deplete you, that hurt you. This lack of self-compassion that you have for yourself, you know, it was taught to you during your upbringing by a dysfunctional system that taught you that in order to be accepted, that's what you had to do, that you had to change who you are in order to be loved. But that is a dysfunctional mindset. That's not good for you. And it's not good for me either, right? It's not good for any of us. And so this holiday season, maybe you can give yourself that self-compassion. You know, when you walk through those stores and you hear all those messages about giving and love and sharing, maybe you can actually listen to those messages and apply them to yourself. Maybe you can give yourself what you seek. Maybe you can give yourself some peace. Maybe you can give yourself some compassion. Maybe you can give yourself that time that you need for yourself to heal and to work on yourself, to work on your triggers, to work on your personal development. You know, maybe you can give yourself those gifts. And be mindful. Look, I'm going to tell you a little story, you know. I mean, when I went no contact for the first time and I went shopping for my kids for Christmas, it is so triggering to walk through those stores. And, you know, I was the toy aisle looking for some things, you know, and there was an older couple standing there. They were grandparents, and they were discussing what they were going to get their grandchildren for Christmas, you know. And they seemed to really know their grandkids too. Oh no, she doesn't like stuff like that. Oh, he's too old for this. Let's get him. Like, they were so the conversation was just so thoughtful, you know. And I ended up having to like go to the bathroom, and I just cried it out, you know, because I knew that my kids were never going to experience that kind of thing. And this is just not something that I can give them. And as a mother, that killed me, you know, because we want the best for our kids, right? We want them to grow up happy and healthy. And it's so easy for the toxic guilt and the self-doubt to creep in during those moments when you think about whatever it is that other healthy families lack. And then you turn that against yourself. And then you tell yourself, maybe it's me. Maybe they're right about me. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I should try harder. Maybe this or whatever. Maybe I am taking away something from my own kids, you know, as an example for what I felt. So, but here's the thing, you know, going back to a dysfunctional way of life is not going to heal you, is not going to heal your kids, is not going to heal anybody. Going back to sit around a toxic table and actually trying to heal, to give parts of yourself that you can't afford to give anymore, that's not going to help you. And when you imagine in your mind people being sad, because that's how toxic guilt manifests, right? You imagine that people hurt, people that are hurting or sad, or you know, people being very, very sad, or even experiencing grief because you made a decision to distance yourself or minimize interactions with your abuser, you know. Those are manifestations of toxic guilt, because if you put it into logic, and if you really look at the situation logically, like if you journal about it and you write down all the facts, you know, well, the people that You imagine being sad. I mean, how about your sadness? How about when the abuser psychologically, physically, and emotionally abused you? You know, how about all the times that you cried? Where were they? Were they there? Or maybe they were there for one conversation where they were like empathetic for a minute, but then everything went back to normal as it always has, and nothing ever changed. The dysfunction was never addressed. Nothing was ever done about it. You know, where were they when you were crying, sad, isolated, alone, traumatized, in the hospital, when you were diagnosed with all those lovely things that come with, you know, trauma? Where were they? So I'm not saying that they are bad people. That's not what I'm saying, because everybody has their own issues to deal with, you know, and everybody has their own life stories. But what I am saying is that, you know, if you don't take care of yourself, and if you don't have self-compassion for yourself, then in a sense, if you go back to that, then you're going to continue feeding the dysfunction. The dysfunctional cycle will continue, because you're going to go back in the equation, and everything will continue the way that it always has. You know, if you want something to change, then you have to change something. And if you keep doing the same behaviors over and over again, well, the same patterns will continue. And maybe when you set consequences down, which could be, for example, like saying, no, I'm not comfortable with this, I'm not doing it. Or maybe going gray rock. And if you don't know, you know, gray rock is basically you having a stoic approach when dealing with toxic people to protect yourself. And, you know, you don't give them information about yourself, about your feelings, about what you're doing anymore. They don't got the privilege of knowing nothing about you. You just say, yeah, you talk about the weather. When they antagonize you, when they do those passive-aggressive things that they do, just nod, okay, sure. You know, you don't respond, don't react. You just observe what's happening, and that's it. And then you remove yourself from the situation whenever you can. You know? Doing those things are means of self-protection, things that you have to do for yourself, to keep yourself, well, to bring yourself to a level of health and healthiness, and for you to be able to be at peace. You got to start looking at what it is that you need to be at peace, because when you're at peace, when you feel good, then sure, if you want to people please, if you want to help someone, if you want to be generous, you can do that, but you have to do that from a place of peace, and a place from where you are full within, where you're in a state that you have what you need, and then you can give. But unless you start doing those things and you keep giving in a way that depletes you, like you become completely depleted, you become sick. And so I do want to give you a trick though, well, a trick, it's an anchor point. Something to remember, like if you do have to deal with toxic people, even if it's at work or if you have to go to that dinner, the gray rock, of course, is important. But the other thing is, I would invite you to create an anchor point for yourself, okay? Stay grounded within yourself and who you are, and you know your truth, and as a means for you to protect yourself and not dive deep into those funnels, these emotional funnels. You know, you got to keep yourself centered. And so there's 3 things that you can do while you're doing the gray rock method. You know, the first thing is you put your feet on the ground. Do it right now, and you can feel the earth, the pressure of the earth against your feet, you know, or your shoes or your socks. And you feel the groundness of the earth. And this, if you focus on that feeling of being grounded against your feet, grounded against the earth like that, this is you taking your space. This is you, okay, being here. This is you being here in this moment right now, taking your space. This is you being like a rock, you know? You ground yourself and nobody can break that rock. Nobody can break your resolve to peace and to no longer give information to people that are unsafe for you about yourself, to no longer give them, you know, ammunition, right, that they can use against you. So put your feet on the ground and focus on that feeling while they're talking and they're going off and you see the dysfunction around you. What you're going to do is you're going to focus on your feet on the ground and that feeling of the feet against the earth element, right? And then the second thing that you're going to do, and I invite you to do, of course, if you feel comfortable, is visualize a powerful symbol in your mind, something that means a lot to you. So if you're religious, it could be the symbol of your faith, whatever it is. If you're not, it could be like, for example, like a tree with roots, or the sky, stars. You know, somebody that I work with, actually, they shared with me that their symbol is actually coding, because that person is a coder, and they find comfort in numbers, right? Like, so they will look at numbers, and it's sort of like, you know, everything. When you look at math, really, math, it's equations, it's patterns, it's everything is sort of, you know, it's sort of a way to everything is controlled in a sense, you know, everything comes in cycles, right? So that person, their visual, it was like numbers, coding and stuff like that. So that visual is your own. It really has to be whatever you feel comfortable with. It's like if you're passionate about a sport, maybe, you know, then you visualize yourself doing that sport. Any image that feels good to you, you keep that in your mind. And the third thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna repeat a mantra. And of course, I always go with, I love myself, I trust myself, because, you know, that self-love is what's lacking. That's the reason why we don't say no. That's the reason why we doubt ourselves. That's the reason why we feel guilty when we shouldn't feel guilty, is because we lack self-love and self-compassion. So I love myself, and then trust yourself. Trust that you do what's best for you. You know, so I love myself. But of course, any mantra that feels good to you, you can even share it if you have one you want to share, you know. So at that point, you're surrounded by dysfunction, but you're very busy, right? You focus on your feet and the ground beneath your feet. Okay? And then you have an image in your mind, something powerful. And then you have a mantra, I love myself, I trust myself. And that will keep you quite busy while you do the gray rock method. So I hope that helps you a little bit. I mean, if you do have to have toxic interactions. And the second thing is really important. The most important thing is, you know, this holiday season, maybe don't suppress. If you can simply embrace how you feel and make a safe space for your emotions within yourself, because, you know, emotions don't always feel comfortable, and sometimes they feel horrible. But every time that you suppress them, every time that you suppress those feelings and those emotions, they are gonna find another way to come out. And that will be through either you getting sick, or maybe through like really powerful triggers in which you like latch on to other people, and then unhealthy relationships, you know, it causes for like you sabotage relationships and such, you know. Well, I'm not saying that your triggers are not valid, because a trigger is basically, you know, somebody did something to you that reminds you of a very deeper wound that you carry within. But being mindful of your triggers will help you navigate them, really, and it will help you with your reactions. It's better to wait for the trigger to pass when you become aware that you have a strong physical and emotional response to something. It's better to wait it pass before you make a decision, you know. So, you know, be mindful of your triggers, be mindful of toxic guilt, and practice saying no. I encourage all of you to practice saying no this year. Practice saying no, because saying no, that's how you express healthy anger, is by saying no. And that's it. There's nothing beyond that. No is no. I'm not doing this. I'm not comfortable doing this. This year, I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to give myself that self-compassion. I'm going to give myself that love and that giving and the generosity and all of that, all the stuff you hear on the holiday season. Well, this year maybe you can direct that towards yourself and take good care of yourself. So I hope this helped you. And just to let you guys know, I mean, this holiday, we're a very small family. We're going to be playing video games the whole day. We're going to have junk food. We're going to watch movies. And that's it. That's the plan. I will not be saying yes to anything that disrupts my peace. And I invite you to do the same. Peace be with you. I love myself. I trust myself. Talk to you soon.